Alright, welcome back everybody. So we're gonna do a new Rise and Fall here, and it's gonna be covering the Uesugi, which is gonna be my next live stream campaign. So I figured, alright, let's get a Rise and Fall in there, just to have it for reference, right? So the thing about the Uesugi, Kenshin's Uesugi clan, right? Because there's a Uesugi before him. But the thing about the Uesugi is that they exist throughout the whole period of the game in one form or another, whether it's the Nagao clan or then Kenshin's clan or then Kakekatsu's clan after the Uesugi Civil War. They exist through everything. So because it's so big, I'm going to break this up into two parts. So I'm going to do one part is going to be, you know, the rise, and then we're going to do another half of it, and then that'll be the fall. So we're going to do the rise on this part, and then on the, next week or whenever, I'll do a fall covering it. So expect two parts for this. And like I said, this is going to be the new live stream campaign, so live streams on Saturday, so tune in for that to watch me struggle with that, because I think I'm going to try that on EX hard. Anyway, the way I'm going to break down the video, it's just going to be 3 parts. And since the clan is so big, I'm just going to highlight 2 of the scenarios that are best for them in terms of when they're at their zenith. 2 scenarios where they're at their peak. So I'm going to break it up into 3 parts. We're just going to talk about the geography, their starting strengths, and then I'm going to look at the officers. And then for the last part, I'm going to talk about the console and the build possibilities. So I'll cover those 3. And then if the video doesn't run on for too long, because I don't want to keep you guys here all day, then I'll do the second half to show off the other scenario, and I'll point out the differences. So that's the plan. So let's get started. First things first, the most efficient scenario I think to play as the Uesugi force is the 1553 start date, right? Conquering Owari. So the reason for that is because most of the key retainers are here. They're still pretty young. You have a lot of time, starting with Kenshin and work your way down. You have a lot of time before most of your retainers either die of old age or conflict or, just passing away, the passage of time, whatever. And also, a lot of your future rivals, I'm thinking the Oda here actually specifically, a lot of this game comes down to, if you pay attention long enough, you realize that a lot of this game comes down to how strong are the Oda, right? When you pick a scenario sometimes. Literally, that's what it comes down to. So, for this part, the Uesugi are already at their zenith, or at least approaching it. If they're not at their highest point, this is damn near close. The Oda are still in their infancy. So, that combined with, like I said, everybody's young, still getting started. This to me makes it their ideal starting spot, because the clan isn't really pushed into one direction or another yet. So you can still kind of shape it how you see fit, but all the key pieces are already here. So with that said, looking at the geography, and this is one of the things that makes this clan either really good to play or not so great, depending on your opinion, right? It's a mid-sized force. So it extends pretty far from over here, almost near the west, right? Almost overlooking from Shinano to kind of overlooking Minnow in a way. You go all the way over here to eastern Japan, and then you even dip down a little bit. You got like an underbelly here poking out into Kanto, right? So you have a lot of directions to expand in, which is great for, I'd say, like an intermediate player. It's not so great if you're still a beginner, because it can be a little bit difficult. The Uesugi are not quite as strong as other mid-sized forces when it comes to depth, so it can be a little tricky if you're a newer player because of this geography, because of the way they're kind of laid out. It can be kind of tricky, and you can get caught in a situation where you just get bogged down and you just end up accomplishing kind of nothing, right? Or especially if you're playing on a higher setting. On higher settings, it's easy to get bogged down to begin with. So you can imagine trying this force, and every time that you put a game plan together, somebody invades. You're getting ready to head over here, and then Shingen invades. You're getting ready. You want to head into Kanto. Well, you have problems over here. The Ashina clan and the Date clan are moving in. You are bordering a lot of heavy hitters, you know, and it doesn't get easier as time goes on. You know, the heavy hitters get even stronger. So, again, more the reason why 1553 is a good starting spot, because you're still ahead of most of your rivals. You know, as time goes on, the power starts to even out. The power balance starts to even out. All the smaller forces start to get whittled out, and the few ones that are still left get stronger and stronger. So, it's great from an expansion point of view. Like I said, if you're intermediate player or higher, this is not really a big deal. It can be a lot of fun because there's a lot of creativity with this force. Okay, not just the geography actually, but the theme of the force. The main build that this force has, I think it's one of the best builds that Koei has done for a force. I'm not sure if it matches the vision for what an Uesugi force should do, but the build that they have for this force is one of Koei's best. It's one of their best crafted. It's dripping with theme, right? But okay, more on that later. So, the geography, like I said, it's great because you can expand in a lot of directions. The fact that you're so big means you can bully your smaller neighbors as you see fit. And later on, as you gain prestige, this can turn into a real situation where you have the opportunity to create little, you know, vassal states and unmake vassal states. You can kind of play this role of kingmaker and kingbreaker because you're kind of the big kid on the block around all these little guys. And it's actually important as the Uesugi or any mid-sized force, but highly, I think as the Uesugi, I think it's really important to have some vassals to give you those extra conservator slots, those emigre slots, right? So having these little guys is not a detriment. You don't necessarily want to wipe them all out. You actually want to use them as best you can, as effectively as you can. And they are able to do that. Again, you're the big kid on the block, at least in the beginning. You only have Shingen to deal with. Now, you have one landmark. And, wow, it's, in my opinion, this landmark is incredible. So, the Yasuzuka landmark gives you plus 15 days of provisions. Pretty simple. You can just, it allows you to, your armies to march farther. Now, we're going to come back to this later, but this is a theme that the Uesugi have that I'm calling the expedition theme, or the forced march theme, okay? The Uesugi do it the best. There's a couple clans that can do it, but the Uesugi can do it the best. And this is one of the reasons why. So, like I said, mid-sized force, but it is more, this is a more advanced mid-sized force because of the way that the geography just the way that the geography comes out, okay? You would much rather play Shingen, if you're a newer player, than play the Uesugi. Not just because of the quality and the depth, but literally the geography. Shingen is way more concentrated in Shine and Shinano and Kai, where if you get invaded, it's very easy for you to get your soldiers where they need to be, right? Look at these castles. Everything's very close to each other. Now, it's a little harder to come out of the shell to attack, but defending, staying alive, very easy. Uesugi, not so much. You can see, just looking at the routes, how easy it would be. You can envision a situation in which you're picked apart. You're just invaded from all these directions, and you can't get to your forces. You can't be everywhere at once, and so you just get picked apart. So, again, the geography is a double-edged sword. It really depends on how you see it. It comes down to the player, right? But I will say, again, give it a shot. You'll be surprised the amount of crazy things you can do with this force. Okay, so moving on to the officers, right? I'm just going to touch on a couple of them. The ones that I feel like need to be talked about. The first one is Kenshin himself, Kagetora. This guy is a theme unto himself. He creates just this little unique space and this sandbox that's already full of unique space. But his is like, if these were special snowflakes, he would be one of the most specialist snowflakes of them all. Okay? God of War is Confuse Abuse, but with soldier reduction on top of it. And because Kenshin has 100 Valor, 98 Leadership, right? This turns Confuse Abuse into just like a delete button. You know, and I already say that about Confuse Abuse. You know, it basically tells your opponent, you can't play. And if you've played anything competitive at all, you know that when you can push a button and just say you don't get to play, how strong that is. Well, this is you don't get to play, and I'm also going to cripple your soldier count. So there's a good chance you're never going to recover. You're not going to get the controller back. I'm not going to give you the controller back. Chances are you're just going to die. Your unit's just going to die. So that's the point. I think Kenshin honestly has the strongest confuse ability in the game. This is the strongest gold-plated ability because of his valor, because of the fact that he's going to hit you like a truck, cut your troops down, and then confuse them so that he can just keep beating them down. So this is a wipe. Almost always this is a wipe. Because confused by itself is usually a wipe, right? Usually a unit doesn't have stamina to continue. This is gets you there even faster. So that's God of War. Righteous General. Oh man, the things that you can do with this is crazy. Okay, whenever an allied clan is attacked, you get the concentrate condition. I mean, you can, this is just like a whole theme again onto itself. You can just play the Guardian Angel, okay, of Uesugi over here, and just overlook these small little guys, right? You could pick one of these small little guys that you know is going to be attacked all the time. Let's say this guy up here. You know he's going to be invaded. Make an alliance with him, watch him get attacked, and you'll get free concentration. So yeah, maybe you have to send some forces to keep him alive, but it'll concentrate everybody. So now everybody's got a buff. So what you're really trying to do, wherever you're really campaigning, your units now have that buff. Because this guy's being attacked. It's that simple. This is one of the themes that Kenshin brings to the table. Just stacking buffs on top of each other. Now Dragon of Uesugi, it's very simple. Increases abilities of units fighting alongside your own unit when it is at war. If you haven't played the Battle of Kawanakajima, I highly recommend playing it. It's a really fun battle. It's a little scripted, but it's a lot of fun. This is just more buffs. Just the game rewarding you for doing what you should be doing, which is using your best tool in your toolbox. Kenshin's deployed, your units fight stronger. As long as you're around him in the battle, they fight better. Easy, incredibly strong, 2 buffs on top of each other. Okay, so if one of your allies is being attacked and Kenshin's the one riding, which he should be, to go help him, that's a double buff, one on top of each other. Because your units are concentrated and now they're getting a buff from that. Equestrian. If you haven't seen my cavalry video, building cavalry, I'd highly suggest checking that out. But I'm just going to say this is level 3 cavalry because of Kenshin's leadership stat. This is at level 3. So treat this, I'm going to talk about Kage in a second, but treat this like cavalry commander. He has cavalry commander at level 3. Kenshin basically has that with a level 1 because his leadership's so high. So this is level 3 cavalry, even though it says 1. That's why Koei did that. It's like, you look at it and you're like, why is this so weak? It's not. It's level 3. So that's, again, this is all insane. People's Champion, you're almost never going to use this because, of course, conservator role. Unless you're playing the first scenario and you disable the event, then you could use it. Way of the Uesugi, we'll cover that in a second, but let's use Bishop Molten Faith, which is a key part of their expedition build. So Kenshin's incredible. Now, one thing that's a drawback about the Uesugi officers is that they're just not as great anymore as they used to be. Okay, anymore. I want to make that distinction, Koei. I don't know what's going on over there, but you guys are nerfing really strange factions. Now the Uesugi are no longer quite as strong as they used to be. They used to be a hair behind Shingen. Now they're way behind the Takeda, in my opinion. So I don't know what the deal is with that, but one of the things about this force is that it pretty much lives and dies with Kenshin. Once Kenshin passes away, I don't know. I would say this force drops a whole 2 tiers maybe. If it's an S tier force with Kenshin, it's a B plus without Kenshin. That's on every way. Efficiency, creatively, absolutely. That's just how it is. Okay, so let me talk about the other generals, which honestly there aren't a lot. So Kage, great, awesome general. Coercion's nothing to write home about, but the stats are great. 86 Valor, 95 Valor, 86 Leadership. Cavalry Commander, level 3, always. On the offensive for attack power. Flattery is a little strange at first glance, but the thing about the Uesugi is that there is a subsection of Uesugi officers that specialize in plots. So, the Uesugi have a sub-theme of covert actions, of ninjutsu, essentially. They have a sub-theme of it. I don't know why. I don't know if it's... I don't know. I don't know if they're touching on the generals putting aside Kenshin's older brother, the Uesugi Civil War. Maybe that's what it is. They're touching on that whole... the plotting and the politics of running everything over here. I don't know. Somebody will have to let me know in the comments. But there is definitely a theme within this force, as we're going to see, of that. Elite Cavalry. This is the best thing about him. Kageye can basically prop up your whole cavalry force. The Uesugi can just have a cavalry force overnight because of Kageye and his elite cavalry trait. There is a drawback, but you know, check out the cavalry video. I'm not really going to touch on the drawbacks and all that on this one, but he can prop up your cavalry build with the Uesugi. It can happen because of him. And this scenario, he's already halfway there. In the next scenario that I'm going to recommend, the one that I prefer, he's already a senior retainer, so he can already start you off. But in this one, he's just as great. He's ready to go. Sadamitsu. Sadamitsu is excellent. Now, I only think you have him for like 5, maybe 7 more years in this one. I'm not too sure. When the boating accident happens, I don't know if it says it here. No. Okay. But his stats are good. 83 leadership. Healer means that if the battle goes on long enough, he will just keep popping and restoring troops. Tactics increases pincer damage. Plot, again, there's that ninjutsu theme. Tactics, of course, also goes off of intelligence, which is 92. So he gets a pretty big buff. It's not a small, substantial. It's a pretty big increase for having for executing pincers with this guy. Now, the best thing that I like about him, provision stockpiler, gold plated, increases days of provisions. Another key component of this expedition build. Decreases harvest amount, negligible. Doesn't really matter too much. Okay, this guy's solid all around. I mean, a lot of these officers are going to be guys. It's just how it is after Kenshin. The best you can hope for is solid. By the time you get the guys that stand out a little bit, Kakekatsu and Kanetsu, it's, you know, Kenshin himself is going to pass away. So the other 2 guys I want to touch on are the flag bearer, Yataro Kojima. This guy is just, it's just a pure fun. Okay, whoever designed this guy was just going for pure fun. This guy's a hammer and everything's a nail. 91 Valor. Everything else is bad. 91 Valor. His tactic decreases enemy defense. First Blood. First Blood increases your attack by 20 points as long as you engage in battle. So this guy's meant to engage first, of course. On the offensive, increases your attack. So, plus 20 attack. On the offensive, more attack. Caution, decreases enemy's attack. And he has 91 Valor. This guy's just meant to pummel. You just line this guy up against where the fighting is going to be thickest, and you let him just charge in and do his thing. Just maximum attrition. Okay. Rapid supply is, it's alright. And Arms Overseer can be useful. You have plenty of people that have that, though. The main thing about this guy that I like a lot, that I think makes him stand out, is just that he has a lot of damage stacked on top of each other. A lot of passive damage. And it's not difficult to trigger in the slightest. You know, the caution isn't that great because you have to be in the battle for a while. And, oh, actually increases defense. I don't know why I said it decreased defense. It increases his defense. So, it's not that great. But just having a 91 Valor that's going to shoot up 20 more points. Effectively 111 Valor with on the offensive. So it can stack. This guy's great. And it's crazy because his stats look so bad, but it's like, no, he can destroy pretty well. Okay, the last guy, oh, I want to talk about, he's not here yet. He's over here. He gets routed by an event immediately, so he joins you right away. Is Yoshikiyo. Yoshikiyo has 83 leadership, and he has rapid assault. You'll notice this with a lot of the Uesugi officers. They have really good leadership, and they usually have either rapid assault or concerted attack. Now, rapid assault is actually a valor tactic. The color is wrong, so it's actually checking valor, which is 87 here. Concerted attack is leadership based, so I don't know why. I think it's just a mistake in the game, but just to give you guys a heads up. And of the two, concerted attack is stronger. So rapid assault, I think its power is 80 or 85. So rapid assault just deals some damage. 87 valor is solid. Impregnable decreases damage taken by your castle. Tactus increases pincer damage, which is, you know, it's okay with him. His intelligence is only 83. The reason that I really like him is because of Bulwark Razor. So Yoshikiyo gives you the opportunity to do a Bulwark build, like a fortress build, with the Uesugi, which sounds a little backwards on its face, but it can actually be very strong with them because the domain of the Uesugi is so wide, like I was saying earlier. So being able to do this is actually pretty good. And I actually think if you turn off the events, you may be able to get him as a vassal and turn it on. I know you can definitely get it from Narimasa. If you capture Numata Castle, as long as you're adjacent to Narimasa, he also has Bulwark. But getting Bulwark can be very useful because of that. Because getting that extra HP, 25% extra HP without even increasing your castle through the policies, can make it so that you can leave a couple of castles just sieged up and then focus your pipeline from one direction. You know, send your forces out just from one direction and leave everything else kind of locked down with the ring of fortresses. So even outside of that, his stat spread is actually still really good. 83, 87 is still really good in the Uesugi force. Like, let's just organize it real quick so I can show you guys. A lot of these guys are just middling, you know? There's just a few at the top that are good, but then it just drops off and it becomes very average very quickly. And like I said, it wasn't always like this. I don't know what the deal is, but Koei's really just, you know, a lot of small little stealthy quiet nerfs over the iterations for the Uesugi force, and I can definitely see it in this one. And it's part of the reason why I don't recommend this clan to like a beginner. If you want a middle-sized force and you're still kind of learning the ropes, go with Shingen, Imagawa even. But the Uesugi are not, like I said, you really have to get Kenshin, live and die by Kenshin. That's about it. So yeah, that's the officer. Those are the officers that I really wanted to talk about. Those are the standouts, in my opinion, at least in this starting date. Now, the last thing I want to cover is the builds. So, and I'm just going to cover the main one, right? They have a few of them. They have a, you can do a swarm build, which I have a swarm video on the channel if you want to learn how to do that. And you can do the cavalry build. The main one that they have is this expedition build, okay? The idea of the expedition build is very simple. Using the landmark, keep in mind the landmark, gives you 15 more days. You just build a force and you're able to launch it ridiculously far. And so it is, you know, essentially that. It's an expedition. You build your force and you extend your supply lines for so long that you can just go out almost indefinitely, forever, right? So the way you do this is you have your landmark that gives you 15 days. Your small unit deployment will also give you another 10, so that's 25 to start. And when you go to the council here, you have people who have provision stockpiler. You have quite a few actually. Provision stockpiler gives you an extra days of provisions, and the drawback is harvest. So the only problem that you're going to have is your harvest is not going to be as great, right? But that's not too big of a deal. if you can get gold plated Sadamitsu, for example, that'll give you 60 days. That's 2 months. Okay, even 1 month. I can't stress this enough. Even 1 month is crazy in this game. To get an extra month to March is nuts. The Koei games over the years, right? The thing that's been limiting how crazy you can get in your sandbox, one of the things that's been limiting is the supply line. It's the logistics of supplies. They've become more and more restrictive as the games have rolled on across both series. And it's resulted in more limited play in terms of, you just being able to go nuts, right, in your sandbox. The Uesugi are able to do things that you used to be able to do in a lot of past games, right? So for example, if I wanted to march, let's say I wanted to march to this clan here, Kasai clan, I wanted to make them a vassal or something, right? You could make an alliance with the Date, and you could send your forces like this, all the way through. And as a matter of fact, when I play Uesugi, that's what I'm gonna do. That's the kind of stuff I'm gonna do. So you can march straight through, all the way over here, and then attack this castle, and then take it, or pummel them, turn them into a vassal, capture them, have a little satellite state. So you'd have a little Uesugi state over here, far away. You can do this anywhere. Okay, you could go down to Kanto just like Kenshin did. Build up your forces, get safe passage, get an alliance with the Numata clan if you don't want to beat them down, and then just march your forces straight through, all the way down, fight a decisive battle with the Hojo clan, cripple them, and then say, okay, I'm going to go back home. I've looked over Kanto, I'll see you guys later. They can do that. Because of this, these extra 15 days, because of the provisioner supply roll, and the last thing I haven't talked about, because of Bishamonten faith. So this policy is insane. Okay, it's crazy. This policy is for the gambler. Okay, it's built for the gambler. Okay, it's built for the push your luck mechanic. Okay, the first part of it is great because it's just more stacking of buffs for Kenshin. When your daimyo is marching, all units get +8 attack. So if you remember Kenshin, Righteous General. So if your allied is being attacked, your officers gain concentrate. Dragon of Echigo, they're fighting alongside them, that's a buff. That's a buff to all stats and all units fighting alongside. That's a buff because your ally is being attacked. And now if you have Bishamonten Faith, you're getting a buff to attack on top of all those other buffs. One more buff on top of it. Just because your daimyo is marching, okay? The second part, as cool as that is, the second part is what I find really interesting. Your soldier reduction speed after supplies run out is decreased by 50%. That's huge. Your soldiers are literally going to march on their zeal, on their Bishamonten fervor. That's what they're marching on, okay? They're just putting off starvation. 50% decrease. This lets you really get the most out of these crazy long marches. The level 3, like I say all the time, level 3 for these some of these 3-tiered policies you're almost never going to get because the insane price spike means that it's late game. But the level 2, when your daimyo is marching, all units get +12. Soldier reduction speed after supplies run out is decreased by 65%. That's very doable. 2,000 a month, you can get that fairly mid game if you want to. Okay, so your soldier is only being hit by attrition from hunger by 35%. Man, that's great. I mean, like I said, this is not applicable in every situation. Most of the time you're just going to be using that top piece, more attack. But that second part, for those who are willing to roll the dice, that second part will allow you to do crazy things. For example, you could march, let's say you bulldoze this guy, march all the way down here, have yourself a little siege. Say this guy's sieged in. You win the siege, you're running out of supplies, but you have extended supplies, so you're able to get here. Win the siege, reload on supplies, now you have fresh supplies, fresh units, And now you can look and just keep marching and marching and marching and hopping from siege to siege. Okay? You just keep sending units from the further back, and you just start creating this long train of units. And when the supplies start to get low, you just look and you say, okay, where's there a siege so we can get some supplies? Let's go pilfer some supplies. The ability to sustain by this force is crazy. So I think that's their most unique build, unique aspect, and it feels like that's what Koei built them with in mind. You know, I guess because of the way that he marched down into Kanto, I don't know, but the way that he started marching west against Nobunaga, I don't know. It just inspired, like, their whole force feels inspired by that theme of like, okay, we want this force more so than any other to be able to go almost anywhere, to really push the threshold for what a long march is. And you can do that fairly easily. Even the landmark is inside your capital, which means you can build it up faster. You can gain access to it a lot quicker than another place. Instead of it being like over here or something, you know, where you only have one officer, and now you have to develop the territory, and you only have one guy, and you have to get system reform to get more people and to set it up properly. No, no, no. This landmark, they already thought about it. It's in your capital so that you can properly develop it right away. You can target it, you know, double down with your develop command to build up the counties very quickly, cap it. It's built with it in mind, guys. It's so cool. Oh, another thing too, they have this ninja guy. I don't really know much about him, but he seems kind of cool. His name is Danzo Kato. Another guy who can help you with plots. Plots devious, 83 valor. Kenshin chased him out of Echigo. Shingen Takada also grew to distrust him and had him killed in a preview. Wow. A proficient ninja known as Flying Kato. I like when you have these really, really cool ninjas just hanging out in tribe units that are very strong. So that's another cool little thing. See, now that guy right there, he's strong enough to crack like the top 5 of the force. Again, because your officer depth is just not great, especially compared to the Takeda in this game. So anyway, yeah, that's the expedition build. I think it's their best build. They do have, like I said, others. So yeah, let's talk about the other scenario, and then we will wrap this up here. Other scenario that I recommend that I think is, I mean, just as good as their 1553 is 1570. Okay, now I think this one, and you could do 1572, but the main difference for me is just 1570 is a little bit earlier, of course, and you can spar with Shingen a little bit before he passes away, because 1572, I think he's only around for like a year. And this one you get a couple more years with Shingen. So anyway, outside of that, right, so the difference is, at this point, the big one is that the clan has prestige now. You know, you have a few more territories, yes, you have the official Uesugi name, but the prestige has jumped all the way up to 400, which means that, as I was talking about in the first part with the Kingmaker, Kingbreaker thing, now you can really go after vassals and kind of pick and choose who you want. So since you're all the way down at the entrance of Kanto, these clans right here, like this one, you can make them a vassal and get the Bulwark Razor to get 25% HP to your castles, which is really good, like I was talking about earlier in the other scenario. You can make these guys, if you want farm turn, I think you can make these guys up here vassal for tax hike. You have a lot of choices because everyone else is just way smaller than you, so you're able to set up a vassal network very, very quickly. Another thing too, I mean, because you have 400 prestige, right? So even the guys like the Ashina clan and stuff, you can kind of bully these guys. So you could maybe take a castle or two and then make a vassal out of almost any of these guys up here. You know, you're set up to kind of, now you can steamroll, but you don't actually have to see it all the way through. You can pretty much just beat a clan in a war, turn them into a vassal, let them do the dirty work for you. Because again, the prestige power. Another thing is that your retainers, the ones that you need to get your builds going, are already at senior rank. So Kage-Ie, he's ready to turn your force into a cavalry force if that's what you want to do. You got Kagetsuna if you want to focus on ninjutsu. He's already got silver traded for it, so he's set up for that. You do have Kagegatsu who's already joined, but to me, People's Champion is, I don't know. I don't think that you really need it. Although if you would just want to, put more buffs on unit abilities in this force, you want to cram more buffs as much as you can, then, why not? But his isn't that great. The one that I think is the best here is, it's only blue, but Nagatsu has access to Days of Provisions. So that you can start immediately conquering these, triggering these long marches. So you can get him set up. 15 days of provisions. You have your landmark 15 more days, so you have an extra month. And then you can get small unit deployment. You have the prestige now, so you can start getting it right away. So that's 40 extra days. And then start getting Bishop Mountain Faith. So in this scenario, you can really get that build going right from turn 1. You can start these long expedition builds. And because you have the prestige, now whenever you go on an expedition and you beat a clan, chances are you can bully that clan into submitting and just being a vassal. So, outside of the Takeda, of course, and the Oda, but you have the means, you have the supply line now, you can get it online very, very fast, and you have the treasury as well. I don't know if I mentioned that, but you have the treasury as well. So you can just start these long campaigns with this clan, and this is to me, this is the one that I prefer the most, just because of the prestige gain and the counselors. You can really mess around with a lot of stuff. Another thing too that you could do, right, is you can get kind of a bulwark build going because of where is he? Nope. Kagetora, there he is. Because of Kagetora. So Kagetora comes over from the Hojo, and now you have Charter Oath, which if you guys don't know what Charter Oath does, it basically gives you a bunch of buffs to defense, to sieges essentially. So Charter Oath gives you +5 defense, +5 defense against blockade, and during a siege, all of your defending units are +3. So if you want to lock down with Bulwark, you can lean into the Hojo specialization here. Make your castles harder to hit, increase all your units during a siege, which the level 1 is not that, it's kind of small. But once you jump up to level 2, it just gets, okay, then it's just strong. You know what I mean? Now it's +10 castle defense, +10 against blockade is no joke. That is really strong, okay? So Charter Oath, combine that with defensive infrastructure. You've basically stolen the Hojo's game plan by having him here, You combine those two things, and remember, vassal, so you can do something like this. Bulwark Raiser. So now you have, now you can set up, remember he's a vassal, so he's not going to take up your spot here, and they're actually going to cancel each other out. So the drawback, the bonus of this negates the drawback of this. So now you have +25%. So now your castles are much higher HP. And thanks to the Hojo methods, your castles are going to be much tougher to break through. And you just increase their HP. And if the enemy still wants to siege you, your units are going to be buffed during a siege. So you're able to play around a lot with how you set up your council board with the Uesugi. Remember, you have 25k in the treasury here. So what you can do, and this is what I'll do, is you get System Reform 2 to unlock your council seats. So you can really play around with this, with setting up your board. Think of the board kind of almost like as an extension of like a, just a build, like a whole character in an RPG or something. The Uesugi are able to really shape this however they want, because each of these conservators is so different. Each guy plays to a different thing. And they're available right away. Like I said, you could run like a lean cavalry force. Very doable. Ninjutsu, if that's what you wanted to do, just do a lot of insight, a lot of covert stuff, a lot of rumors. You can do that. They have a lot of guys who have these the purple traits in the game. If you want just more buffs, a shitload of buffs. You can put People's Champion, okay? You get that +5, plus Bishamonten to get +8 because attack, just because you're marching, plus Kenshin's double buff. That's 4 damn buffs. Okay, one more for concentration to all your units, one because of Dragon, Bishamonten Faith, and People's Champion. They just have so many tools. You know, it's great. So, you know, small differences, but I think 1570 is, to me, that's my preferred one. It's a nice little sweet spot too, where you can enjoy the trajectory of, like, okay, you'll have tension, you'll be on top of the world, and then you'll have the Civil War to deal with, and then you can find out if you can rise from the ashes. So, like I said, I'm going to cover the fall in a future video. We're just going to do the rise on this one. So, yeah, I think that about wraps it up. So, that is the Uesugi. Like I said, I will be starting a live stream run on them. That's going to be every Saturday. That's when I do the live streams, and I think we're going to try to do it on EX Hard, just to see how difficult it is, just to struggle a little bit, I guess. And yeah, we're going to have other stuff on the channel as well. So make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. We've still got a Sanada Sekigahara run going on, and I'm going to have more build videos, more videos covering the clans and all that. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys on the next one. Till then.